Welcome to the Bearded Gearhead channel. It's been a busy spring at the heavy equipment dealership that I work at. There's a large coal boom going on right now, so we're seeing orders for large mining machines come back into the dealership that we've not seen in quite a few years. I figured that while they were here, I'd grab some pics and some footage and bring you all along with me, so stay tuned. If you like the channel content, take a moment and pause and scroll down and hit that subscribe and notification button so you'll know when new videos are released. I delivered a new Cat D10 T2 this past winter, but this D11 that just came in is what I consider to be the first of our large new mining machines to hit the ground. This is a Cat D11 TKN serial number prefix powered by a Caterpillar C32 with a gross rating of 1,015 horsepower. The machine has 3 forward and reverse speeds. The operating weight is 229,800 pounds, equipped with a U-blade and a single shank ripper. The universal blade has a capacity of 45 cubic yards. The machine is 14.5 feet tall and 20.7 feet wide with the U-blade. Fuel capacity is 475 gallons. A new D11 is delivered to the dealership without roller frames or track. We assemble the roller frames and track on the machines, and then they are hauled out in the manner you just saw, where they are final assembled in the field, including the blades, cylinders, and the rollover, and the ripper or the counterweight. This new 993K will be the third 993K that is in my dealership branch territory. This particular machine is a new machine with a Z8D serial number prefix. It is powered by a Caterpillar C32 with a gross power rating of 1,039 horsepower and 4,034 foot-pound of torque. The operating weight is 294,687 pounds, has a rated payload for high lift of 27.5 tons. Bucket capacities range from 16 to 31 yards. This machine has 3 forward speeds and 3 reverse speeds. Max hydraulic pump flow of 311 gallons per minute at 1,650 RPM. Fuel tank capacity is 573.3 gallons. The machine is 19.9 feet tall to the top of the ROPS. Max length is 53.2 feet. Top forward speed is 12.9 miles per hour. The bucket breakout force is up to 171,372 pounds. The tire size on a 993K is a 50/65-51, which is 120.9 inches in diameter, or essentially 10 feet tall. New 993K machines typically go straight to a customer job site and are 100% assembled on site. This usually requires 2 at least 75-ton cranes, a couple of boom trucks, and usually a crew of 5 to 6 field service technicians. Due to highway construction on the interstate and permitting issues, this machine had to be brought into our branch just so that the front and rear axles could be installed under the machine, and then it was loaded onto a shorter lowboy trailer from a local hauler so that it could be hauled up these narrow Appalachian roads where the coal fields are in eastern Kentucky. Here you can see the front and rear axle assemblies that will be put up under this particular machine. The axle assemblies weigh somewhere around 20 to 30,000 pounds each. It's only a 2-man job when you're at a dealership with the use of forklifts. Here are the tires you can see that I mentioned before, about 10 foot in diameter. The large box next to them was the cab. And here's the boom assembly, which will be installed once it hits the job site. This is the bucket. This is me in comparison. I'm about 5 foot 10 inches tall, so you can get a general idea of how large and tall this particular bucket is. When machines arrive into the dealership without axles or undercarriage or roller frames, they're let down onto jack stands securely, and then we will take and let the lowboy down out from under it, take another machine and drag the lowboy out from under the machine. Then we'll get the driver all set back up, hooked up. We'll load the stinger and the dollies back up on his lowboy trailer to shorten his return trip. And then we will start assembling the machine. Video does not do justice for a 993 in comparison to real life size. The 93 is a large machine. It is not the largest wheel loader that Caterpillar makes, because there is still the 994, but the 993 was brought in to bridge the gap between the 992 and the 994. The 992 is primarily designed to load a 777 rock truck, and the 994 is designed to load 785 and larger. But it's a little too large for a 785, but a 785 is too large for a 992. Thus, Caterpillar produced a 993K, and it is a perfect fit for a 785 truck, which is the type of truck that this particular machine will be feeding once it gets on site. The technicians, after they've pulled the trailer out from under the piece of machinery that's been delivered in, will take the trailer and push it around where the truck driver can back up to it and get rehooked. He'll hook back up to it, then he'll break his front dolly away, or stinger, whatever you want to call it, and he'll pull it forward and unhook it. We'll fold part of his trailer up, and then we'll start stacking these pieces back on his trailer so that his trailer is a shorter trailer measurement overall for his return trip back home. That way he doesn't have to pull that extremely long trailer without anything on it on his return trip. The technicians now have the axle assemblies in place. They're setting the front axle in right here. You'll get it lined up after a little bit of work, start you some bolts in it, and get everything bolted up, torqued in. We actually use it looks like an overgrown hand drill. It's called a rad gun to torque all the bolts to spec. Of course, with this machine, like I mentioned, all we were doing was just putting the axle assemblies under it. Then you can see our local driver come back in here, and we'll drag his trailer back under the machine and load it up. We need a shorter trailer to make these small back road trips here in eastern Kentucky. A trailer with a stinger and a dolly is just too large to make the turns and to go down some of these two-lane roads that these machines are eventually destined for. You can see in this video they had a little bit of trouble getting this machine back on the different trailer than it came in on. The trailer that it came in on was narrower, and we actually had to pick the rear of the machine back up and kick the jack stands further apart just to get the trailer under this machine. Here the machine is all loaded up now and ready to head out. The boom truck has got all what we call the fall-off parts. This particular load is the ROPS and the bucket pins and the smaller parts. There's another load with the tires and the cab assembly on it. Here the machine is loaded up, headed out the gate to its new home, heading to Cumberland, Kentucky. Actually a little smaller area known as Eola, Kentucky. A very large strip job up there that's going to last somewhere between 5 and 10 years. There's already 2 other 993Ks on that particular job, running a fleet of 785 trucks. The Cat 777 off-highway truck is probably the most common truck in our area. This is a 777G RDR serial number prefix. This is a 98.4 ton truck. We refer to them as 100-ton trucks. It is powered by a C32 Caterpillar engine with a rated gross horsepower of 1,025. Total gross weight is 363,000 pounds with a maximum working payload of 108.2 tons. It has 7 forward speeds and 1 reverse. Standard tire size is 2700 R49 at 8.85 feet tall. This truck is primarily used in conjunction with a 992 wheel loader in the Appalachian coalfields. These units are delivered to the dealerships in the configuration you see here, which is without front struts, the rear axle, the cab, the catwalks, the ladder. When these touch base, they come in on a flatbed truck and not a lowboy. We'll pick them up with overhead cranes, set them down on the ground. Here you can see we're taking paint remover. We use a paint remover from a company called SOS Metal. SOS Metal is by far the best paint remover that we have found. Step one is to put the front struts on these units, and then get the machine jacked up in the air, put the front tires on it to provide some stabilization, and then we will bring the rear axle assembly in and assemble it to the wishbone. You can see on this new 777, if you're familiar with these trucks, the new 777Gs, the latest productions actually have a skeletonized wishbone in the rear, kind of a neat and standout feature that I'd noticed on these trucks. Here is the ground level service station where you can hook up Caterpillar ET for monitoring and diagnosis. There's your master switch and the jump start plug for when the machine battery is dead. Noticed on this truck that the Caterpillar is now installing belly pans and engine guards all the way around the engine compartment, which is a new feature I had not seen before. This is to allow airflow to be pushed out the back of the engine compartment to help cool the Tier 4 pack, which is where your DPF assemblies are. Caterpillar provides dealerships with special instructions for assembly on these machines. The special instructions will give part weights that you'll know how much you're lifting, what type of lifting device you need. It will give torque specs for bolts, special assembly procedures. It's very detailed and very helpful for the technicians. If you have a machine that you're trying to assemble out in the field somewhere, you can actually contact a CAT dealership and they can pull up the media number for special instruction so that you will have access to that. These machines are all labeled out part-wise. Parts are inventoried into special instructions. That way it helps the technicians go through and they can get detailed prints on where these parts go on the machines, and it's a quite useful guide for technicians. Here you can see the fall-off boxes with the individual labeled parts for a new machine assembly that are sent in with each new machine. This is the newest 992 wheel loader from Caterpillar. It has just replaced the 992K. Caterpillar's next-gen machines, such as this, no longer have a letter suffix on the end of them. This machine is powered by a Caterpillar C32B with a gross power rating of 900 horsepower and 3,515 foot-pounds of torque. The operating weight is 233,430 pounds. It has a rated payload and high lift for 22.5 tons. Bucket capacities range from 15 to 32 yards. The machine has 3 forward speeds and 3 reverse speeds. Maximum hydraulic pump flow is 250 gallons per minute at 2,165 RPM. The fuel tank capacity is 385.7 gallons. This machine is 18.3 feet tall to the top of the ROPS and has a max length of 50.8 feet. Top forward speed of the 992 is 14 miles per hour. Bucket breakout force is up to 157,125 pounds depending on the bucket configuration. The 992 has a tire size of 45/65-45, which stands at 8.95 feet tall. The new 992 is delivered to the dealership in the same configuration as the 993. It touches base without axles or a cab. The dealership must install the axles either on site or at the dealership. In our case, we always install them at the dealership and put the tires on them, as in our territory they can be hauled in this manner. The new 992 machine does not have a dedicated platform cab with a detachable soft cab. It is all one piece now, so the cab must be partially or temporarily set onto the machine so that the dealership can move it around and load it, and then it has to be taken back off once it is loaded on the lowboy. Here you can see some pictures of the back of the cab, the pump compartment housing. Everything is modular now on these machines and set in as sub-assemblies to speed up production process. The technicians have fully assembled this machine with the boom, axles, and tires in the cab, And in this short video here, you'll see the machine when it's first started up and rolled out of the shop as we take it over to the fuel tank to add some fuel before delivery. I just happened to pass this on the interstate one day. This is a Crest 200C3. It is made by the Crest Corporation and is sold and serviced by Crest or through Caterpillar dealerships. We have not moved a unit like this through our dealership in the past, as there is no demand for it, but it was an interesting machine to see. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. Take a moment and pause and hit that subscribe button so that you can see when we drop our next video, and hit that notification bell too. I appreciate you all coming along with us, and I'll try and drop another video here in the next couple of days or maybe next week, and I'll see you next time.